The law as taught in law schools is often seen to be very different from the law as it operates in the real world. One subject offered to 4th and 5th year law students attending Monash University is quite different. It teaches law in practice. It teaches professional ethics and professional skills. It is professional practice.
Joe. What, Sarah?
What subjects are you doing next semester?
Evidence, company, tortious communications and Prof Prac.
Prof Prac? What do you want to do that for?
Professional practice is not taught in a classroom. Students complete working placements at legal services and work on real cases. In that sense, it is very different from traditional law subjects.
The thing about it is that you're learning about the law by default. All you're really there to do is to talk to people and try and help them work out their problems. You learn without even thinking that you're being taught.
Well, you're not really taught so much as being encouraged to teach yourself. By being responsible for doing work on your cases, you learn how to be a lawyer.
Students complete the course while studying other subjects taught by traditional methods, and often report that their work at the legal service helps them to understand the law in greater detail. Dealing with real clients puts the law into perspective. Professional practice placements put law students in touch with people with real problems.
Mr. Chen?
Yes.
Just come this way, please.
Yes.
Students interview clients and take responsibility for assisting the clients to resolve their legal problems.
Mr. Chen, my name's Joe. How do you do? Have you been to the legal service before?
No.
Right, well, first of all, I have to tell you that I'm a final year law student training under the supervision of a qualified solicitor. It's my job to talk to you and then to take some notes back to my supervisor so that we can give you our advice. If you'd like to tell me why you're here.
Well, I had an accident on last Thursday night. I was driving my son to his music practice, and it was raining very heavy. And we had turned the corner, and the traffic light said it was green, so I turned. And this man came from the right and hit my car in the back. It was so loud, the smash, and I was worried that my son was hurt because he was in the back and I couldn't see him. So I get out of my car and that man was shouting.
In an interview, it is often difficult to identify exactly what area of law is in issue. Professional practice students learn to listen carefully to what the client is telling them. This encourages the client to trust the student.
It had fallen off the seat and onto the floor, was broken. And then the policeman came, asked me to get out of the car, and they asked me, "Are you driving this car?" I said, "Not anymore," because it all smashed up. And then they said to me that I have to blow into this
Breathalyzer?
Yes.
After discussing the problem with the client, the student takes the information back to the supervising lawyer in the legal service. The supervisor and student discuss the advice to be given. This is the essence of the approach of the legal service. The student and their supervisor work together to help clients resolve their problems.
The client whether he remembers looking in his mirror as he turned left. If he did he see a car coming up behind him and going straight ahead? It was night time, so he'd probably see the lights. I want to ask that because from the amount of damage to both cars, it seems to me as if the other driver either didn't slow down before he turned right or he accelerated to try and beat an oncoming car. I mean, their damage is $7,000. That's a great deal for a front-end collision from a standing start. Also, our damage is pretty significant. So I'd like you to take the instruction sheet and fill it in with the client before we give him the advice.
Okay.
Okay, what else do we need to know?
Well, because Mr. Chen refused to blow into the breathalyzer, I think we need to ask him if he'd been drinking.
Yeah, but we've got to be careful about how we ask that question. I mean, he was fairly insulted when the police asked him to test for drink driving, and now he's come in to us for help, and he has to trust us.
Hello, it's Josephine from Springvale Legal Service here. I'm calling on behalf of Mr. John Wilson. He's due to appear on the 14th of May for a burglary charge. Mr. Wilson will be pleading guilty. However, he is currently undergoing psychiatric treatment, and we'd like to get a report from his consulting doctor for the court.
The student is given a fair degree of responsibility. It is expected that a student will do most of the work in following up a client's case. They report to the supervisors and use them as a resource, but it is the student who will have direct contact with the client and who will work on their behalf.
We're sending Mr. Wilson in to confirm that and to get his bail extended. Thank you. Goodbye.
How's it going, Joe? How'd it go with Wilson?
Good, Adrian. I've just had his case adjourned for 2 weeks.
Right. Is he on bail?
Yes,
And we pleading guilty or not guilty?
guilty. It's been adjourned for further mention.
Right. Well, you'll have to let the client know, and he'll have to extend his bail, so you better get him in here so we can tell him how he can do that. All right? Also, I think we need to speak with his doctor about getting that report, and he's probably going to have to bring in some money to pay for that, say $60.
I don't think he has any money. The last time he was sent to jail, his dole was suspended. I don't think he can afford to pay for the report.
Right. Well, can you take that up with his doctor? I think we should speak with Mr. Wilson on Monday, though.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give him a call.
Right.
John, I've just spoken to my supervisor, and you do have to go to court tomorrow at 9:30. But all you need to do is to tell the clerk of courts who you are and that we've called and had your case adjourned. Then you'll need to wait until your case is called. That's because you're on bail. It'll be probably called fairly early on, and what you'll need to do is ask the magistrate if you can extend your bail until the 28th of May. Okay? Do you understand what you have to do?
Yeah.
Well, you've been through court before, so you know how it works.
Yeah.
John, you said earlier this morning that you'd been thrown out of home again. Do you want to talk about it?
See, me dad was beating up me mum again. Well, I just got sick of it, so I said to him, "Leave her alone, you bastard." I had a go at him. He was pretty drunk as usual, so he beat into me and chased me down the street, yelling at me not to come back. I got real worried, because Mum was still there. I hate him. I'm going to kill him if he touches Mum again.
At least you had the guts to stand up to him.
Well, someone had to do something.
Where are you staying now?
Well, I went to a friend's place last night, but I can't stay there for long.
Do you have anywhere else you could stay? Friends? Relatives?
Not really.
Well, we have some people here in the Bureau who could tee up some short-term accommodation for you, and they could help you to get protection from your dad, for both you and your mum. Perhaps I could ask one of the Bureau volunteers to come in and talk to you about it.
Fair enough.
I'll go and see if I can find someone now. John, this is Bev. She'll be able to help you sort out your housing problems and all the rest.
Thanks, Jo.
Sure.
Hi, I'm one of the workers from the Community Aid and Advice Bureau.
John Wilson, Court 1, please.
John? If your worship pleases, I appear for Mr. Wilson. I've been briefed by Springvale Legal Service to appear on his behalf.
Thank you, Mr. Rich. Have you informed the defendant of his rights?
Yes, I have, your worship. Mr. Wilson consents to summary hearing of the charges of burglary and theft and enters a plea of guilty.
I'd ask that the charge of theft be marked withdrawn, your worship.
Yes, Sergeant. Mr. Rich, your client can be seated.
Wilson is closing. The hearing was yesterday. Must have gone well. You seemed pleased when you came back.
We had a really good barrister. A lot better than some others I've used this semester. He managed to get in the evidence of John's dad beating him and his mum. So we got a CBO, and that was great because our client had only been out of Tirana for about 5 months. The barrister said at the conference that he might go to jail.
Good. You did very well on that case. You put in a lot of hard work and you deserve some of the credit. Now, I'd like you to report to John and to Legal Aid, and then you can close it. What's next?
Mr. Chen, you remember the man taking his son to music practice who had the car accident?
Ah, yes. I saw a letter come in on that from AAMI. What are we doing there?
Well, they still insist that we are totally in the wrong, but I don't agree with that. I still say the other driver was speeding.
You may well be right, but if we take the matter to court, I think we're going to have some problems with proof. I mean, the issues are clear enough, and the law in theory says that we've got a case, but in reality it's going to be his word against theirs. The problem is that our driver is not insured and the other side is. So that insurance company is going to take it all the way to court. And if they do, it's going to be very expensive for our client. His barrister's fees, their barrister's fees and their legal work if he loses. So I think we should be talking with the insurance company as soon as possible about settling.
I'm not really happy with that, and I don't think Mr. Chen will be either. I think he'll want it to go to court. I know this is how the system works, but it just doesn't seem fair.
I know. He's largely in the right, but as I said before, it's a question of proof. I'm just letting you know what the costs of taking a matter like this to court will be so that you can let Mr. Chan know. The whole thing boils down to an economic decision for Mr. Chan to make. I mean, we can let him know what the legal position is, so far as it is, and we can also explain to him his legal options. But we should also tell him exactly what those options mean in detail. We've got to close the textbook and give him as much information as possible about each of the options he's got so that he can make a fully informed decision for himself. After all, it's he who's going to have to wear the consequences.
The other option, of course, Mr. Chen, is for you to sue Mr. Edwards. Now, I've spoken to my supervisor about that, and he says that if you want the case to go to court, it would be better for you to defend a summons sent by his insurance company than for you to sue Mr. Edwards. I think that's right, Mr. Chen. Yep, my supervisor suggested that we try to settle this out of court, but as you know, the insurance companies aren't willing to negotiate. They still won't accept that Mr. Edwards was speeding. I think that if we can get our hands on the police report, we might be able to show that he was, and the damage shows that he was driving too fast. If you get a summons, don't worry.
Law students in the early years of their course are encouraged to volunteer at the legal service, where they will work under supervision and gain valuable and enjoyable experience.
Don't mention it, Mr. Chen. That's what we're here for.